let's talk about the new Psychic Dude support.
X-Men!
So we got a couple new Psychic cards that came out last weekend from the new expansion, Doom of Dimensions. That would be in the form of the Psychic Sorceress here, and we also have another guy here, the Oracle. And I also made a couple of small changes to the deck list from the previous video. But even though changes are small, I think it changes the way the deck plays quite dramatically, and for the better, in my opinion. And like I said, it makes the deck even more of a modern deck than it was previously. So as you can see, I'm going to focus more on the teleport cards. Not only because of the Sorceress, but just because I feel like having the more extenders is just a better way to play the deck. And the results seem to be working. I've been winning a lot of more locals and just small events here and there. And the deck has just been performing a lot better. Bricks very rarely in my experience nowadays, which is kind of surprising. But enough of that, I'll just go through the deck list real quick here, just to give you guys an example of what was changed. So we still have the similar mutant lineup, the 3 Mutant M-05s, and we have the 1 ST and the 1 Mutant, and the 2 Beast. Very small mutant lineup here, as you can see. But a lot of these cards are just searched for and summoned from the deck, so you don't really need to overcommit to a lot of the mutant cards. Just play the best ones. And if you have access to cards like Minimullion, I would probably play even fewer number of these cards, potentially, but I would have to test that to see what I would remove for Minimullion. Because we don't have that yet in the OCG, but I would probably remove, at the moment, maybe a copy of M-05, maybe? But maybe only one. Maybe a Beast. I'd have to think about it. But this is basically what the mutant monsters look like. After the mutant monsters, we have our starters. We have the Psychic Girl, who can summon a psychic monster from our deck by banishing a card from hand. And we also have the Mental Procedure, or Mind Procedure, I think you guys call it in English, who can search a teleport card from our deck or take one back from the graveyard for 2,000 life. After that, we have some extenders. We have 3 of the Prototype Gunner to help special summon psychic monsters from our hand, and also extend by summoning himself from the graveyard by banishing a psychic monster. And we also have the 1 Hushed Minister, which is also very helpful by special summoning himself from the hand if you control a psychic monster. For the hand traps, we have 3 Ghost Ogre. She is a psychic, she is a tuner, she is everything that we need. So I play her just for those reasons, and she just happens to be a somewhat decent hand trap. We also have the Shifter. Dimension Shifter still being played as a 1-of. And it still hurts some decks, but it does hurt our deck slightly more than before, I feel like, because we do have some effects in our graveyard that we do like to resolve sometimes. But again, it hurts our opponents way more than it does us, so we play it. And since we're the OCG, we got the Maxx C, 2-of, and the 3 Ash to negate the Maxx C, and the Mulcharmies. For the spell lineup, we have 3 of the Parallel Teleports, which I've been really liking recently. This card will summon a psychic monster from your deck, or extra deck, interestingly enough, that is level 7 or lower. You also take some damage along the way, depending on how big the level difference of the monster you tribute to summon this card is. And also, it's very helpful for just avoiding more hand traps or negates, or just even having good extensions. So for example, if you play Psychic Girl, they try to impermanent, you just tribute her, special summon from the deck. There's just been other times I just draw a lot of mutant cards, I need a tuner, I just use Parallel Teleport to summon the tuner after I summon the mutant cards. The drawback, which is pretty hefty, is that it locks you to psychic monsters from the main deck only. And that is a lock that is before and after you play this card. So you can't do the usual thing, which is just, you know, summon your non-psychics first. You can't do that. If you summon any non-psychic monster, if you special summon, I should say, any non-psychic monster, you are locked out of playing this card. So that's probably why you don't see it. But I think it's quite underestimated. And for Mutant, we have Mutant Beast, which does suck to get locked out of, but it's actually not as big of a drawback as I expected it to be. Thanks to cards like Mutant Fusion, sometimes I still use that on my own turn. And typically, the way it would work would be if I activate my Parallel Teleport to dodge a hand trap, well, that means my Mutant Fusion is live, because if my opponent activated an effect on my turn, I can also use my deck and graveyard. So typically, I would be banishing the beast from my deck instead of summoning it with Mutant Fusion. And all the Mutant extra deck monsters are psychics, so that lock is actually fine. And we also have the we have the Mutant, Mutant Fusion, that's the other card. We have the Teleport Fusion, so many fusions, so many teleports. So Teleport Fusion will banish cards from our from our graveyard or hand to fusion summon some psychic monsters. And we also have our other teleport, which is of course the emergency teleports to summon from the deck. And we only have 2 of right now. We're waiting for the 3rd one. Konami, please hurry up and unlimit this card. I know you want to. You already did it at Master Duel. And we have 2 Called by the Grave and 1 Crossout to stop more hand traps, to make the deck really solid going first. So typically I set up full boards without being interrupted as much as I was before. That normal summon is not as crucial as it used to be. And we also have the 3 Infinite Impermanence and the 1 of Mutant Cry, another fusion card that we can also set up during our combo line. So that's what the deck looks like. And let's look at the main extra deck. There we go, extra deck. So we have the new card. This is the Sorceress, Psychic Sorceress. New level 6 Synchro. When she is Synchro summoned, she can also set a teleport card straight from your deck to the field. This has been very helpful lately because I've been hit by Droll and Lockbird, and I've actually still set up the majority of my combo thanks to this card. You can either set your Parallel Teleport, or you can also choose to set your Teleport Fusion instead, depending on what you have and what you have access to. You could set your Emergency Teleport by being a quick play spell like the other 2, and you can't really use it on your turn, but on your opponent's turn, Emergency Teleport doesn't do a whole lot, but Parallel Teleport and Teleport Fusion do quite a bit. And if this card is sent to the graveyard after being Synchro summoned and you control a Psychic Fusion or Synchro, you can spin 2 cards back to the hand. If you don't control one of those things, you can only spin 1 card back to the hand. So this card has some natural synergy with the Parallel Teleport because you can tribute her for the cost. And then you could also special summon Psychic Synchro from your extra deck that's level 7 or lower. So, you know, a cute little combo I like to do is if I do set the Parallel Teleport, then my opponent's turn, I just activate this, I tribute this, and I summon something like a PSY-Frame Zeta, which is also made it to the extra deck as a level 7, since it can be summoned by Parallel Teleport. And Zeta can banish a attack position special summoned monster, there we go, by banishing himself. So she will bounce 2 cards, and then Zeta comes out, and then Zeta can also banish another card. So that's like 3 layered interrupts right there. Other guys, we also have the Silent Magician to help us special summon a monster from our graveyard or banish pile again. Same idea with the Thought Cross Demon. Thought Cross Archfiend, I think you call him in English. You can also special summon some psychics from our banished. That's primarily his use. We have the Mark II Gunner. He can also special summon banished cards, and he also can banish opponent's monsters. And we also gain life equal to the banished monster's attack. And we also have the Jura as an 11. He can also destroy all face-up monsters or spells and traps our opponent controls. The other 11 of my choice is the Psychic M Punisher. Usually this is the guy I go for, since having a really big, usually like 10,000 attack, unaffected Psychic M Punisher is enough to win the game. But a lot of decks just have a lot of trouble dealing with it, especially when you back this guy up with like 3 or 5 or even sometimes 6 other interrupts along the way. So it's been working pretty well. We have for our last synchro, we have the Punk Jam Session. You can also search a card, for example, level 3 Psychic, which we have a lot of. And we also can swap the Jam Fever on top of the session after we search the card to get another monster negate. For our fusions, we do have 2 Mutant Synthesis. 2 has been really good. I often find I actually do need the second Synthesis a lot of the time to summon from either, because I end up using both the Fusion and the Cry a lot recently, surprisingly, in a lot of my games. And we do have the Ultimas, which is pretty rare, to be honest. You could probably, if there's a card to cut, it would probably be this guy. I just can't bring myself to cut this guy. He's too cute, he's too lovable. Because there is the rare occurrence where I summon the Axon Kicker, this guy. And this guy has the effect to banish the opponent's face-up cards by paying 2,000 life points when he's summoned, but he also has the effect to fusion summon a level 10 Psychic Fusion monster by banishing himself from the graveyard, which would be the Ultima's target. But you can't do that the same turn he's sent to the graveyard. I guess they didn't want to make it too easy. And the last new card we have is the Oracle. So I've summoned this guy a couple times. He's been alright. He's not has been as impactful as the Sorceress. The Sorceress has been amazing. But this guy's effects, he is a fusion that is summoned by a Psychic monster and basically an extra deck monster. So it's Link, Synchro, Xyz, Fusion, and 1 Psychic. So he is a pretty good target for Super Poly, which I haven't bothered trying because it seems like it's a little bit expensive, because a lot of the time I will have to use my own card for that, and using any of your own cards for Super Poly usually feels bad. However, I was considering it for some matchups, like maybe for Vanquish Soul, because they have Holy Sue often on their board, which is a Psychic, so that, potentially could be something, but I haven't tried that yet. His effect is to negate a summon. He negates a special summon, much like Solemn Judgment works. So it's a little complicated, so he can't negate something like Parallel Teleport, for example. He would negate the game mechanic of summoning, not the effect to special summon, if that makes sense. So when your opponent XC summons or Synchro summons, that's when this guy could be used to negate. Not when your opponent activates the effect to special summon a monster. So that's basically how the deck is shaping up. I took out the macros. They are over here in the extra deck, side deck rather. So the macros were actually kind of like causing some trouble for myself, because I can't use the Ghost Ogre. I have more effects now that I want to activate in the grave, and to be honest, it just wasn't as impactful. I'm losing a lot of games going second when I was playing macro, I noticed, and a lot of those games that it was really clear, really obvious, because a lot of the games I started to win going second is because I had Parallel Teleport, and it's like, oh, that used to be a Macrocosmos. If that was a Macrocosmos, I would just lose. But it was Parallel Teleport instead, because that's what I replaced. And I actually won a lot of those games going second, thanks to Parallel Teleport. We have some other going second cards, for example, like the Mulcharmies. We still have the Drolls. The Droll's really effective. It's also an anti-Maxx C card. We have the anti-Draco Tail guy. We got the G. This guy can special himself when your opponent activates a spell card. And this guy is kind of like a Macrocosmos. This guy hasn't come up too much lately, but he's in here still. I haven't really figured out what else to put in the deck. I did put the triple tactics talents in here to try to help going second more. But that's basically the gist of the deck. So maybe I will show you exactly how it works nowadays, and especially these new lines with Sorceress. All right, let's show you a potential line. For example, you get your you get your Psycho Girl summon. You banish a card from hand, whatever it is, doesn't really matter too much. Summon your Procedure. Procedure will get your Emergency Teleport. Emergency Teleport will summon a mutant card usually. If you want the Anti-Nibiru line, you would get the ST. If you want more of the greedy line, you can go for the M-05, which usually is what I would do anyway, because I don't believe in the rock. Nibiru's not real. So then after you get the M-05, you would search for the Mutant Mutants, special the Mutant Mutants. Mutant tributes himself, here. Then he would banish the ST from deck. That would summon your Mutant Beast over here. And usually this is what you have to make your decisions based on. So typically, what you could do in this kind of situation, I would go for the Magician. So probably the 3 and the 2. And you would make the Magician. Like that. The Magician would bring back the ST from up here. So when ST is summoned, the Magician has the effect to increase this level by 1. So you would do that. And you would also go ahead and get your Mutant Cry. And this is where you could make a simpler play. So if this is a 4, this is a 2, you make your 6. You can do it that way. You get the Sorceress. The Sorceress activates, sets the Teleport Fusion straight from your deck. And then you could use, you have a 5 and a 6 here already. Use the 5 and a 6, and you can make the 11 of your choice. You could choose to make the Psychic M Punisher. Juro is also nice in this situation. And that's like the very basic 1-card combo line that you could do with Sorceress. So it would look probably something like this, right? So it doesn't look too scary at the start, right? You just have 2 guys up, 2 cards face down. So your opponent's turn, you would have a spell negate here by banishing itself. Then you could also recycle your banished card to summon your Mutant Synthesis, which would also destroy a card. Then you have your Jura's effect, destroy all other cards. Then you would have the Teleport Fusion after that, and then you could banish from your graveyard either the Jura or the Magician, whatever you want to banish. You could summon the Axon Kicker, banish your opponent's entire board after you destroy the Majura. If you want, you could try for the new guy, the Oracle. If you have like a simplified game state, this guy might be good. Or if there's maybe like a telegraphed play your opponent does, where you think they're going to do like a big Synchro or XC summon, you could just bring this guy out first. But my opinion, I usually like to use the Kicker first over the Oracle a lot of the time. The times that I have summoned the Oracle is when I had too many plays. I had like too much gas, and I just didn't have the life to pay for the Kicker's effect, the 2000 life. So in that case, the Oracle is good to summon in that way, because I already had a lot of interrupts set up anyway. So but that's like the super simple basic combo line with Sorceress. So let's show a potential example you could do with Parallel Teleport. If that did come up, for example, you summon the girl, but your girl got targeted by some kind of targeted negate. So you just use the Parallel Teleport, you just tribute the girl off, and then you can special summon a psychic monster from your deck. One thing I will note, be careful. Do not summon Procedure from Parallel Teleport, because Procedure only gets its effect from being summoned by a monster effect, which is an odd stipulation to have, but that's what he says. So what you would do is you would probably summon your Mutant card. So I would probably summon the Mutant ST from the Parallel Teleport, and you would take 1000 damage since there's a 2 and 3 life, 2 and 3 level difference here. Then you would take 1000 life points damage. And then your girl's effect would activate to summon the Procedure from deck. And then you could get the Emergency Teleport. That's usually the way I would do it. And then the ST, interestingly, since depending on what you have, if you have Cry, you search for Fusion. If you have Fusion, you search for Cry. And you can like set up your Mutant Synthesis still on your opponent's turn. So if I didn't have anything, I would probably just get the Mutant Fusion. And what that would do next is you could just activate the Fusion And you would either tribute or banish. It'd be your only mutant card at that point, right? So you would have to banish the ST. And you would banish the Beast from deck. And you could summon the Synthesis. And from here, since you have the teleport still, you have a few options what you could do. So if you activate the teleport that you got from the procedure, did I already activate that? No, right? Confusing myself now. So parallel teleport got the ST and the girl got that, yeah. So you never activated the teleport yet. So the teleport would also get another target. You could either get another girl. What girl could do, it could do with a 9 and a 2 to make it an 11. You could also get more mutant cards if you wanted. That could also be a potential 3. So you can get the M-05, you can get the Mutant Mutants. You couldn't use the Mutant Mutants effect for the effect to special the Beast, since you are locked into Psychics. What you could do, however, you could use the 3 and the 2 to bring back the girl from previously, if you wanted, by using the Silent Magician. Getting a little ahead of myself here. And then from here, you would have the option to either activate the girl's effect, or you don't even need to do that. You could just do the 9 and the 2 here if you wanted. And you can make the 11 of your choice. Maybe the Jura. Maybe the Pep. I usually like the Pep myself personally, but whichever you like. And you can also do the 6 and the 1. Or the 1 and the 5, rather, to make the 6. And then you could get the teleport of your choice. Very simple. So that's the basic idea. Anyway, I just showed like the bare minimum because to be honest, this deck's kind of hard to teach because I feel like there's a lot of different combo lines and it's a really reactive deck. I feel there's a lot of level modulating going on depending on what your opponent did. But basically, those are the ideas and the steps that you're trying to get to when you're playing this deck, in my opinion. So mostly it's about just recognizing what paths you can take through opponents' interruptions, and this deck's actually pretty good at that, through using Parallel Teleport to tribute the Sorceress on your opponent's turn to get 2 bounces. Depending on what your opponent has, or what your opponent did, or what you think the follow-up is needed, you might get a Magician, because Parallel Teleport doesn't negate the effects of the guys you summon, so you could just like summon extenders with Parallel Teleport in the end phase your opponent's turn to set up your turn on the next turn. You could also use things like Zeta to have more interrupts in your opponent's turn. You could also choose to set things like the Teleport Fusion, and depending on what your opponent plays and does, you adjust your play accordingly. If it's better to banish their whole board, or if it's better to negate their summon. It's a little bit about reading the opponent, and which is kind of cool because I feel like there's a lot of parallel, get it, to this old debate that I used to have a while ago about what was the better fusion summon, Synthesis to make an interrupt, or the Ultimas. And I feel like that's a really similar debate to between the Axon Kicker and the Oracle. I feel like these are very parallel. And usually in my experience, the Synthesis is always way better than the Ultimas, because the Ultimas kind of gives my opponent the chance to respond, where Synthesis is, I feel like I'm the one in control about what's the effects of what's happening. And Kicker was a very similar experience, but some people will argue the other one's better, but in the end of the day, it's just your preference. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or comments about anything mutant, hit me up. I'm here. I'm willing to talk about mutants. It's what I do all day. Alright guys, good luck out there, and see you next time. Bye bye.